Hey guys, it's Baba here with a new story. Today is Amos and Boris, and it's by William Steig. I think it's good. All right, so here we go. Amos and Boris. Amos, a mouse, lived by the ocean. He loved the ocean. He loved the smell of the sea air. He loved to hear the surf sounds, the bursting breakers, the backwashes with rolling pebbles. Look at that. There's Amos. And there's the ocean. He thought a lot about the ocean. And he wondered about the faraway places on the other side of the water. And one day he started building a boat on the beach. And he worked on it in the daytime, while at night he studied navigation. Ooh, this is the mouse. He's building a boat. Man, he pushed up the mast. Ooh, he did a lot of work. Now, when the boat was finished, he loaded it with cheese and biscuits and acorns and honey and wheat germ and 2 barrels of fresh water, a compass, a sextant, a telescope, a saw, a hammer and nails and some wood, in case repairs should be necessary, a needle and thread for the mending of torn sails, and various other necessities, such as bandages and iodine, a yo-yo, and playing cards. Look, he's loading up. Ooh, that looks like cheese. Yeah, and we've got the barrels. What was in the barrels? I think that was water. Oh, there goes the barrel. It looks like it's really heavy. On the 6th of September, with a very calm sea, he waited till the high tide had almost reached his boat, and then, using his most savage strength, he just managed to push the boat into the water, climb on board, and set sail. Look at him. Ooh, do you think that boat's heavy? It looks big. But it's beautiful, right? He's got it painted. There's a flag. What color is the flag? It looks green. The rodent, for that was the boat's name, proved to be very well made and very well suited to the sea. And Amos, after one miserable day of seasickness, proved to be a natural sailor, very well suited to the ship. He was enjoying his trip immensely. It was beautiful weather. Day and night he moved up and down on waves as big as mountains, and he was full of wonder, full of enterprise, and full of love for life. Look at him. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's a lot of up and down. It's a really big wave, too. One night, in a phosphorescent sea, he marveled at the sight of some whales spouting luminous water, and later, lying on the deck of his boat, gazing at the immense starry sky, the tiny mouse Amos, a little speck of a living thing in the vast living universe, fell thoroughly akin to it all. Overwhelmed by the beauty and mystery of everything, he rolled over and right off the deck of his boat and into the sea. He rolled off the boat. Woo! Splash! But what's that? That's a whale? What about that over there? It's another whale and another whale. What's that? That's another whale. So Amos rolled off the deck of the boat into the sea, what do you think's going to happen? "Help!" he squeaked. "Oh, look!" As he grabbed desperately at the rodent, but it evaded his every grasp and went bowling along under full sail, and he never saw it again. Oh no! The boat went away, and he's stuck in the ocean. And there he was, right there. Where? In the middle of the immense ocean, 1,000 miles from the nearest shore, with no one else in sight as far as the eye could see, and not even so much as a stick of driftwood to hold on to. Oh, should I try to swim home? Amos wondered, or should I just try to stay afloat? He might swim a mile, but never 1,000. He decided to just keep afloat, treading water and hoping that something, who knows what, would turn up to save him. But what if a shark or some big fish or a horse mackerel or a horse mackerel turned up? What was he supposed to do to protect himself? He didn't know. Ooh, does that look scary? I would be scared. Oh, morning came, as it always does, and he was getting terribly tired. Oh, he's still in the ocean. He was a very small, very cold, very wet, and very worried mouse. And there was still nothing in sight but the empty sea. And then, as if things weren't bad enough, it began. What's it doing? It began to rain. At last the rain stopped, and noonday sun gave him a bit of cheer and warmth in the vast loneliness. But his strength was getting out. He began to wonder what it would be like to drown. Oh, would it take very long? Would it feel just awful? Would his soul go to heaven? Would there be other mice there? Oh, that's really scary. As he was asking himself these dreadful questions, what's this? What happened? A huge head burst from the surface of the water and loomed above him. It was a whale. "What sort of fish are you?" the whale asked. "You must be one of a kind." "Well, I'm not a fish," said Amos. "I'm a mouse, which is a mammal, the highest form of life. I live on land." "Holy clam and cuttlefish," said the whale. "I'm a mammal myself, though I live in the sea. Call me Boris," he added. Ooh, do you think Boris is going to be a friend? What do you think? Amos introduced himself and told Boris how he came to be there in the middle of the ocean. The whale said he would be happy to take Amos to the ivory coast of Africa, where he happened to be headed anyway, to attend a meeting of whales from all of the 7 seas. But Amos said he'd had enough of adventure to last him a while. He wanted only to get back home and hoped the whale wouldn't mind going out of his way to take him there. What do you think? Will the whale take him there? "Well, not only would I not mind," said Boris, "I would consider it a privilege. What other whale in the world ever had the chance to get to know such a strange creature as you? Please, climb aboard." And Amos got on Boris's back. "Are you sure you're a mammal?" asked Amos. "You smell more like a fish." Well, then Boris, the whale, went swimming along with Amos, the mouse, on his back. Look, that's Boris. That's Amos. Ooh, do you think that's fun? I bet it's a good ride. What a relief to be safe, so secure again. Amos lay down in the sun, and being worn to a frazzle, he was soon asleep. Then, all of a sudden, he was in the water again, wide awake, spluttering and splashing about. Boris had forgotten for a moment that he had a passenger on his back and had sounded When he realized his mistake, he surfed so quickly that Amos was sent somersaulting, whoosh, whoosh, tail over whiskers high into the air. Hitting the water hurt. Crazy with rage, Amos screamed and punched at Boris until he remembered he owed his life to the whale and quietly climbed on his back. From then on, however, whenever Boris wanted to sound, he warned Amos in advance and got his okay. And whenever he sounded, Amos took a swim. Bloop, 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 bloop. That's a scary surprise. Swimming along, sometimes at great speeds, sometimes slowly and leisurely, sometimes resting and exchanging ideas, sometimes stopping to sleep. It took them a week to reach Amos's home shore, and during that time they developed a deep admiration for one another. Boris admired the delicacy, the quivering daintiness, the light touch, the small voice and gem-like radiance of the mouse. Amos admired the bulk, the grandeur, the power, the purpose, the rich voice, and the abounding friendliness of the whale. They became the closest possible friends. They told each other about their lives, their ambitions. They shared their deepest secrets with each other. The whale was very curious about life on land and was sorry that he could never experience it. Amos was fascinated by the whale's accounts of what went on deep under the sea. Amos sometimes enjoyed running up and down on the whale's back for exercise. Look, he's running. And when he was hungry, he ate plankton. The only thing he missed was fresh, unsalty water. The time came to say goodbye. They were at the shore. I wish we could be friends forever, said Boris. We will be friends forever, but we can't be together. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was Boris. We will be friends forever, but we can't be together. You must live on land, and I must live at sea. I'll never forget you, though. And you can be sure I'll never forget you, said Amos. I will always be grateful for you for saving my life, and I want you to remember that if you ever need my help, I'd be more than glad to give it. How could he ever possibly help Boris? Amos didn't know, but he knew how willing he was. The whale couldn't take Amos all the way back to land. They said their last goodbye, and Amos dived off Boris's back and swam to the sand. Oh, do you think they're going to miss each other? I think they became really good friends. From the top of the cliff, he watched Boris spout twice, pew, pew, and disappear. Boris laughed to himself. How could that little mouse ever help me? Little as he is, he's all heart. I love him, and I will miss him terribly. Boris went to their conference off the Ivory Coast of Africa, and then went back to a life of whaling about, and Amos returned to his life of mousing around, and both were happy. Look, he's smiling. Many years after the incidents described, when Amos was no longer a very young mouse, and when Boris was no longer a very young whale, there occurred one of the worst storms of the century, Hurricane Yetta, and it just so happened that Boris the whale was flung ashore by a tidal wave and stranded on the very shore where Amos happened to make his home. Look at that. Look, you know it's a storm. The sky is yellow, and look at that wave. Boris looks scared. Do you see that? It also just so happened that when the storm had cleared up and Boris was lying high and dry on the sand, losing his moisture in the hot sun and needing desperately to be back in the water, Amos came down to the beach to see how much damage Hurricane Yetta had done. Of course, Boris and Amos recognized each other at once. I don't have to tell you how these old friends felt at meeting again in this desperate situation. Amos rushed towards Boris, and Boris could only look at Amos. Look. But Amos is so small. Do you think he can help him? Oh, Boris looks really scared. Amos, help me, said the mountain of a whale to the mote of a mouse. I think I'll die if I don't get back in the water soon. Amos gazed at Boris in an agony of pity. He realized that he had to do something very fast, and had to think of something very fast about what he had to do. Suddenly, he was gone. I'm afraid he won't be able to help me, said Boris to himself. Much as he wants to do something, what can such a little fellow do? What do you think he's going to do? He just ran away. Do you think he has a plan? Let's find out. Just as Amos had felt once, all alone in the middle of the ocean, Boris felt right now, lying alone on the shore. He was sure he would die. And just as he was preparing to die, Amos came racing back with 2 of the biggest elephants that he could find. Look at that. There's Amos. What are those? Those are the elephants. Do you think the elephants can help? I hope so. Let's find out. Without wasting time, those 2 good-hearted elephants got to pushing with all of their might at Boris's huge body until he began turning over, bloop, breaded with sand and rolling toward the sea. Amos, standing on the head of one of the elephants, yelled instructions. Look, he's yelling instructions. But no one heard him. Do you think the elephants are helping? I think so. In a few minutes, Boris was already in the water with waves washing at him. He was feeling the wonderful wetness. You have to be out of the sea, really, to know how good it is to be in it, he thought. That is, if you're a whale. Soon, he was able to wiggle and wriggle deep into the water. Look, Boris got back into the ocean. And there's Amos, and there's the elephants. He looked back at Amos on the elephant's head. Tears were rolling down his great whale cheeks. The tiny mouse had tears in his eyes, too. Goodbye, friend, squeaked Amos. Goodbye, dear friend, rumbled Boris, and he disappeared in the waves. They knew they might never meet again. They knew they would never forget each other. Oh, look at that. That's the last moment they see each other. There's Amos, and there's Boris. Oh, that was a nice story. I hope you guys liked it. And I'll see you later. Baba out.